Introduction to Financial Statements Part 3। अब तक हमने दो फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स की बात की है, यानी स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन जिसे बैलेंस शीट कहा जाता है आमतौर पर, एंड द स्टेटमेंट ऑफ कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इनकम जिसे आमतौर पे हम प्रॉफिट लॉस अकाउंट या इनकम स्टेटमेंट कहते हैं। इसके अलावा दो और फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स हैं जिसको हमें यहाँ डिस्कस करना है, एंड दीज आर द स्टेटमेंट्स ऑफ कैश फ्लोज and the statement of changes in owner's equity. Let's first talk about the statement of cash flows. Cash flow असल में कैश का पे किया जाना या कैश का रिसीव किया जाना है with reference to a business organization. So whenever a business organization pays cash, that is a cash outflow, and whenever cash is received, it is an inflow. The purpose of making a cash flow statement is to see the clearer picture of the performance of a business. Cash flow और profit की amount में फ़र्क होता है, यानी अगर हम यूं कहें कि कोई business जब sales या revenue generate करता है तो उससे cash inflow होती है, और जब cost और expenses incur होते हैं तो उससे cash outflow होती है। तो उसूली तौर पर कैश आउटफ्लो और इनफ्लो का डिफरेंस प्रॉफिट के बराबर होना चाहिए, बट प्रैक्टिकली स्पीकिंग इट इज नॉट द केस। प्रॉफिट इज नेवर इक्वल टू द नेट कैश फ्लो, एंड देयर आर वेरियस रीजंस, एंड दैट इज व्हाई टू गेट अ क्लियरर पिक्चर वेयर द अकाउंटिंग ट्रीटमेंट्स इफेक्ट इज नॉट रिफ्लेक्टेड, अ कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट इज prepared. Cash flow statement has three parts, and the first one is called the cash flow from operating activities. If we look at the first two financial statements, that is balance sheet and profit and loss account, a cash flow statement is actually prepared using the data which is there in these two statements. So all the data which is there in the profit and loss account and also in current assets and current liabilities is taken in operating cash flows. यानी ये वो पोर्शन है जिसके अंदर हम ऑपरेशन से रिलेटेड जो कैश इनफ्लोज और आउटफ्लोज हुए हैं, सेल से रिलेटेड, कॉस्ट से रिलेटेड, और उसके नतीजे में जो अकाउंट रिसीवेबल्स और पेएबल्स और इन्वेंट्रीज जनरेट होती हैं, उससे रिलेटेड जो कुछ कैश फ्लो है, that is a part of the operating activities cash flow. The second part of the cash flow statement is from investing activities. That is the cash inflow and outflow which is related to non-current and operating fixed assets, which means that excluding the current assets, in the balance sheets, whatever assets we have, that is the amount where the investment is made. So जहाँ पर हम fixed assets को खरीदते हैं या उन्हें बेचते हैं और उसके अंदर अगर कोई adjustments है, ये तमाम चीज़ें हम cash flow from operating activities में treat करते हैं. And finally, the cash flows from financing activities. And in financing activities, we have either the shareholders' equity or we have long-term liabilities, and maybe the part of the current portion of the long-term liabilities too. So इस portion के अंदर हम वो चीज़ें लेते हैं जो हमारी financing से related है. So these three components combinedly make the cash flow statement. That is cash flow from operations and from investment and financing. The fourth financial statement is called the statement of changes in owner's equity. Owner's equity is actually the amount of investment of shareholders in the business. यानी ये वो amount है जो shareholders को belong करती है. When we divide the shareholders' equity with the number of outstanding shares, we get the book value per share. The shareholders' equity has number one, issued, subscribed and paid up capital. This is the amount of capital against which people subscribed and they paid the money to the company, and ultimately the shares were issued to them. This is that amount of capital which never changes. So whatever is the issued, subscribed and paid up capital, that remains constant. At this point, it is also important to remember that this is a part of the authorized share capital. Authorized share capital वो maximum amount of capital है जो कि कोई company generate कर सकती है by issuing shares to the general public. Additional capital or share premium account is part of the equity where we record all that amount which is received at the time of issuance of share above the par value. यानी अगर कोई शेयर अपनी पार वैल्यू से ज़्यादा पे इशू किया जाए तो जो एक्सेस अमाउंट होगी उसको हम एडिशनल कैपिटल में लेते हैं. And then we have got the profit earned by the company and retained. प्रॉफिट को अगर किसी खास पर्पस के लिए रिटेन कर लिया जाए तो उसे हम रिजर्व का नाम देते हैं. We have general reserves as well as we have some specific reserves. There are statutory and non-statutory reserves. So reserves की भी बहुत सी किस्में होती हैं. And finally we have the retained profit or retained earnings जिसके अंदर हम अर्न होने वाला प्रॉफिट ऐड करते हैं, जिसमें से हम डिविडेंड्स पे करते हैं और इसके अलावा होने वाली बहुत सी एडजस्टमेंट्स जो हैं वो भी हम रिटेन्ड अर्निंग के अंदर एडजस्ट करते हैं. Statement of changes in owner's equity also reflect the amount of dividend that is paid in any year. Dividend can be paid at the end or maybe during the year. These are termed as annual dividends or interim dividends respectively. Then the profit earned by a business at the end of the year is also added in the retained earnings. Retained earning account is also used for making some adjustments which are different accounting adjustments, and hence we get a closing balance of shareholders' equity. So the statement gives us the opening balances of all these accounts which are part of the shareholders' equity, the changes during the year, and finally the closing balances of all these accounts at the end of an accounting period.